the canes you leave. And even if you had to cut off what would have been a good fruiting cane to leave a spur in the right place, that's what you need to do to build for the future. So now that you've got spurs where you want them, everything else is left as canes. So you pick your 5 or 6 best canes and cut off everything else. And so if we take a look at these, and we need to include in that anything we used as a runner or a layer to bury in, that counts for the energy of the vine as one of the 6 fruiting canes. So at this point, we would only leave 5 fruiting canes up here at a maximum. But again, if they're not really 5 canes here to leave, then leave 3 or 4 of really good canes. We have on an annual basis anywhere approximately about 30% of the berries that we pick and lay down on the papers and send off the packer get blown out in the vacuums because there's no meat to them. It's not light enough. We'd be better off to leave good, strong, healthy canes and have 90–95% of those berries make it through the packing system than to leave all this extra cane to make sure we have our 6 canes and then have 30% of that get blown away in the vacuums. So again, pick your best canes and cut the rest off. And also, if you can have 4 or 5 good canes and start getting rid of some of this old woody growth at the top, even though this cane right here is probably one of the best fruiting canes on this vine, it arcs up high in the air. It's what we call a sun cane in the industry. Again, this would be very good, but I don't like how this woody growth is getting up here. Now I'm going to proceed to cut this off. Again, this had a really good cane up here, but I don't like how this woody growth is getting too close up to the top wires. So I'm going to take all this off. And again, I like to snip and cut more than yanking and pulling. And now I pick what I have as my best canes. And for example, these here are really nice canes, but this one here, it just barely reaches the wire. And since I already have my spurs in place, I just eliminate anything over here that I'm not needing completely. So I don't leave it as a spur. And so now we've got 1 layer or runner, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got our 5 fruiting canes. This is just what we want to see. And the last thing I want to talk about on the canes is the length to leave them. The way that we thin the fruit, like you thin peaches to leave them so you get big peaches, the way we thin the grapes is by how many canes we leave and by how long we leave them. These canes are supposed to be 15 to 19 buds long, but rather than having you guys go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 19 snip, just take the cane, hold it up to the wire, pull it down the wire, and a little bit past halfway, cut it off. And that's probably going to be pretty close to the 15 to 19 buds long. If we leave too many canes or leave the canes too long, then we're overcropping. Then we're getting back to that problem of having all this fruit that goes to the packer that gets blown out in the vacuums. So now we'll show you some wrapping and tying. Now we're going to talk a little bit about tying. And it's very important that before you grab the canes and start wrapping them around the wire, that you put the puzzle together. You make sure that each cane has its own wire to go to. So you want to position all the canes first before you do any wrapping and tying. For example, if we just grab this cane and start wrapping it, and we need to move this one to the other side now, we can't do it because it's in the way unless we unwrap this. But since I want to move this one to the other side, I'll pull it around here first and put it in position of where I want it and make sure that each cane is already going to the wire I want, and then I start wrapping and tying. You want to have these canes so it makes a V or a Y shape from some arbitrary point rather than it making an X shape over the top. That'll make it more congested so that it's harder to pick the fruit at picking time, and it'll make it harder to do the pruning next winter. So again, you want it to make a U or a V or a Y shape away from each other rather than canes crisscrossing over the top of each other. So the other thing to keep in mind is you want to go underneath the cross arms whenever possible, if you can do it without breaking canes, and you want to go, if a particular cane needed to go to the other side, you want to go underneath wires rather than over the top of the wires to an adjacent wire. So what we want to do is go not over the top of the wire to hook it to the next one, but go under this wire if we're wanting to attach it to this wire here. And that'll be better for the picking and for the pruning next year. Rather than going over the top of the cross arm, we want to go underneath the cross arm. Now before you wrap this cane too, you want to make sure that rather than grabbing it like this and just hooking it to the wire so you have all this loose space here, you're going to have a lot of weight of fruit here, and this cane could come unraveled or even break by summertime. And also you want to go, rather than going on the outside of the wire and over the top, you want to come from the inside out. Bring it straight up to the wire and inside out, and that will be much stronger. That's much stronger than if you go from the outside in. The cane that goes to center wire can go across either way. The center wire, it doesn't matter which way it goes around, but you still want to come straight to the wire, start wrapping. These canes will always have a curve to them. Use the curve, and that'll help you hold it up there in place. It'll just stay almost by itself. And then as you put the ties on, you put the tie around at the end, put it around once, and twist several times. Do not put them here and here and here, just at the ends. That's all we need. If you tie it too many places, it not only girdles the cane, but it makes it really tough for the pruners to get it off the wire next winter. Just at the end is, if you've put it up there good and secure, just one at the end is good enough. And remember how I talked about holding the canes a little past halfway? That way, if this one comes a little bit past halfway, you can use the remainder of this tie to put that in there and twist it off. So you can put two canes up with one tie, one coming from each way. Thank you for your help here at the Vineyard. And it's always best to remember too that aside from whatever work to be done here, what's most needed here is the willingness of the heart of the people who come here to serve. But of course, if you can do it right, that adds to it as well. Thank you.